What's up, Spencer here with Handlebar Labs. In this quick stream, I want to start working on a component that allows me to create a global alert system that basically, one, I can use from anywhere in an application. And then two, it lets me actually display the alert in different ways. So I can have it slide down from the top, I could have it pop up from the bottom, or I could have it show up as just like a modal component in the center of the screen. So what I think we're going to do in this video is just kind of start getting that API in place to start building on top of it as we go. So what I've got here is just a basic React Native project that I've just gone ahead and initted to save us a bit of time. So let's just go to the screen and get started. So what I plan to do is actually use the React Context API to do this. And there's a possibility in the future I might want to bring this out into an NPM package. So I'm going to go ahead and actually create a new file in my little project here. And I'll just call this global alerts.js. And I'm just going to use one file for right now, just so we could save some time. We'll break it up if we need to in the future. Okay, so first thing we're going to have to do is import React. We'll also go ahead and import a view from React Native. Now, I don't really have any code. I've done similar things before, so it's definitely just going to be me working along as I try to figure this out. But we can go ahead and, let's see, we'll create an alert context and call this react.createContext. The initial value is just going to be an object. We're going to have various things in here. An object will be the easiest thing, I think, for us. I'll go ahead and say export const alert consumer. That's going to equal alert context dot consumer. And then we'll also export a class. We'll call this alert provider. And that's going to extend a react.component. It'll have a render function in here. In which we'll go ahead and return the alert provider. I guess it would be alert context.provider. We'll set up a function quickly to just say alert. That should be fine. Let's see. So provider's going to take a value. That value is going to just be alert, and that'll be calling this.alert. And then we actually want to render this.props.children in here. I'll save it. Everything's rendering fine. Let's go back to our app.js and actually try to use this. So I think it's import star as, okay, I need to reference some code to check this. Okay, it's actually going to be import. Well, I guess we need the alert. Let's just get the provider first. That's going to come from global alerts. So here, I'll go ahead and instead of just export default the component, we'll go ahead and wrap this in our little alert provider. And then I just want to return my app in here. Okay, so everything's rendering okay. What do we have to do next? Well, let's actually just go ahead and get that alert consumer in here as well. Alert consumer is going to use the render prop pattern, so we can go ahead and return a component that then returns, or return a function that returns the actual app component. If I save this, everything should look the same. So what we can do now is this is going to basically take that value from our global alerts.js. And this value, so this alert should be passed with the context in our app.js. So I can then pass this alert, and then we can pass a prop down to our app component. That's just going to be alert. And then obviously alert consumer with the context API. This could be called anywhere in your application. You put the alert provider at the root, and then alert consumer is going to go down into any screen below that. So what I'll do is actually bring in the button component. We'll go ahead and render this. I think a button takes a title. We'll call this press me. And then on press, we should go ahead and call this .props.alert with no options right now. Press that. Okay, so we know we've got kind of our, basically the plumbing setup for our alert consumer. Now we want to actually figure out kind of an API to do this. So the way I'm thinking is we'll have a title, we'll have some body text, and then eventually I'd like to have a call to action, so some sort of button that you can press, to do whatever the alert wants you to do. And then I guess you also need to specify the type of the press that's going to happen, or rather the type of modal that's going to be displayed. So maybe instead of this, we'll pass an object. So let's say title. Then we'll do body. Yeah, I think an object's going to be an easier option. So we can then say like display bottom. We can also have like top and then modal eventually. And that'll allow us to expand on this in the future. And then we could set up like a CTA text. Well, you can say this is going to be like confirm, and then we could set up a CTA on press, and then we can just say alert pressed CTA. CTA would be short for call to action, in case you were wondering. Okay, so I think that API makes sense. Let's go ahead and go back to our global alerts. And then what will we want to do? Well, we know we've got this object that kind of breaks down. So we've got, let's go back to app. Just copy these values over. So CTA on press, we'll just set this to null. Really, I guess all the values could be null by default. Well, let's go ahead and set just a blank string for the title and body. I guess we can do the same for the CTA text. And then by default, we'll set display to be bottom. Oh, since this is default values, I need to set these to, or use an equal sign here instead of the colon. Maybe. Okay. Cool. So what do we need to do here? Well, I guess what would the next thing to do be? Put that alert back in here. Rather, we'll do a console dot. No, we'll just do alert. Okay, so I guess the next thing I'll do is set up. We'll need style sheet and text. Go ahead and set up some styles here. So I could set up, let's see, top, bottom, modal. So let's just do bottom first. In this case, it would be position absolute. Whoops. We'll set the left to 0, right to 0, and bottom to 0. So then I could put a view down here. We'll put a text in here and another text. What is this? Okay, so this is going to have a style equal to, what is this going to be equal to? This will be set to styles.bottom for right now. And then text. Okay, so here, let's go ahead and initialize state. So I guess we'll just do title, body. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that for right now. And then we can pull the title and body off of this.state. We can get title down here. Body, okay. So then instead of alert, we'll set this dot set state, we'll set title and body. Okay, then let's go back to app. Okay, so we're setting a title and body here. So if I save this, nothing should be shown, but if I press this, okay, we're seeing the body text show up down there. What we want to do is actually go ahead and put this in a safe area view. I guess I should import that first and set up prettier in this project. Okay. So if I press this, we get the text to show up down at the bottom. Let's just say we'll create an alert container. This is going to have a background color of, say, I can't remember any gray colors. Let's use okay, let's use this. Actually, okay. Colors are hard. We'll also set a, let's see, for bottom, we'll want to set a border top. We'll set it to our border top width. We'll set a border top color, and we'll set this to that value we had before. Yeah, so I'll save this. Okay, so we can see we've got this little container showing up down here. I press this, the actual text shows up. So we could set up a title and then body. We'll set the font size for this to be 20. Font size for this to be 16. We'll also, for the actual alert container, we'll set padding horizontal to be, let's just say 20, and then padding vertical to be 10. Oh, I guess I should use the alert container. Yeah, so styles dot alert container. So basically the reason I broke this alert container and styles.bottom up into two, because alert container is going to be shared between basically if it's displayed bottom, top, or modal, and then the styles.bottom, top, or modal, we'll have those customized, basically absolute positioning and then borders. Okay. We'll also go ahead and set these styles. So we'll set style equals styles dot. This will be title, and then this will be body. We're getting a lot of jitters down there. That's odd. I've seen this before, but I don't really know what to do about it. So I'm just going to comment those out for right now. Seems the app doesn't want to reload with that. Okay. So we'll just go ahead and add padding vertical of 60. This is just temporary, so that things don't get all messed up. Okay. So this is showing up correctly, but it's showing up all the time regardless of whether it's displayed or not. So we'll add another state variable called visible. set this to true, or rather set this to false. And basically when we alert, then we'll set visible to true. We can go ahead and pull visible off here. And then we can say visible press this, and it pops up. And our content isn't adjusted in any way because we're using absolute positioning. What the next thing we'll want to do, let's go ahead and pull this out. We'll set this to container styles. We'll create a new variable down here called container styles. We'll initialize it as this, and then we can say if display is equal to bottom, we can go ahead and add, we can say container styles.push styles.bottom. This is going to come from state. We can also say else if display is equal to top, we'll go ahead and say container. Copy this. This time putting top instead. Else if display is equal to modal, we'll set it to styles.modal. So let's go ahead and actually set the display as well. Okay, so let's think. If it's top, then we can go ahead and copy the bottom styles. Position absolute, left to right. This time top is going to be 0. Border bottom. Press this. Okay, it's going to set it there. Let's go ahead and set display to be top this time. Remember our semicolon or our comma. Press this and it's showing up at the top. So this is all looking good. Then let's figure out the modal. Now the modal is going to be a little bit more complex because we can't use the exact same styling, because with absolute positioning, we can't vertically and horizontally display this. So I think, what do I want to do? So maybe instead of this, what I'll do is, if it's visible, we'll do this. And then we can also say if the display is equal to modal, we can display it one way. Otherwise, we can display it this different way. And we're duplicating code here, which isn't great, but we could fix that later. Make sure that's spelled right. So this we can call, let's say, styles dot. Well, let's just call this modal because we want it to be displayed a little bit different, perhaps. So we've got styles.modal, and we're also going to have formatting code. Okay, so we're going to have styles.modal. We'll also have modal container. And then let's set up a modal container here. Okay, so modal container is going to be flex1. We'll set a background color of transparent, so we'll set it like this. We'll say align items center. Whoops. We'll say justify content center. And then we'll go ahead and copy this alert container. Well, we'll just set grab the background color and the padding horizontal. We can set a margin horizontal as well. We'll set this to 10. That way it's not right up on the edges like the top alert is. Well, let's just see what this looks like. Looks like an error. I forgot a comma. 82. What's invalid about this? Why isn't it liking that? When in doubt, delete it and do it again. Okay, so well, let's comment this. I don't think it's gonna like that either. Okay, so that's progress, I suppose. Okay, let's make sure this renders correctly. So if display is equal to modal, why is it? I don't know if anyone's actually watching this, but I'm sure you're yelling at me if you are about what's wrong here. I don't even know how to read comments if there are any. Okay, anyways, so let's say if visible and display is equal to modal. We'll go ahead and render that. Otherwise, because I can't figure this out right now, if visible and display does not equal modal, then we'll go ahead and render this. Okay, so that's fine. Now let's go to app and let's set this to modal. Press this and it shows up at the bottom. What can we do here? Oops, gotta charge the computer. Okay, so modal container, let's actually set this. Oh, so we want to set this to, okay, we want this to be position absolute. We want top, bottom, left, and right to be 0. I'll save this, press it, and it shows up over top of everything else. So I think we could actually get rid of this align item center. Yeah, so then it takes up the width we want. So let's see. We could also, let's actually set this. How do I want to do this? Let's set it up so if it's a modal, we can actually use touchable without feedback. What does it look like if I do this? Okay, so that doesn't work. So we'll leave that as a view. What if I wrap touchable without feedback like this? I'll save it. Okay, so then let's set up a close function. And this is going to be this.setState. And then we're going to go ahead and bring over the initial state, which we can go ahead and take the default state. We'll set this to initial state and then pull that value out into a variable. So now if I save this and then the touchable without feedback, I'll set onPress equal to this.close. I can open it and then I can close it by basically clicking anywhere for right now. We can change that later, but yeah, so I think we've got the basic API in place. We've got a way to open and excuse me. We've got a way to open and close this modal. We've got different ways to actually display it. If we go to display bottom, we can see that's working. And I think that's where we're gonna call it stops for right now, just so basically I'm just making this up as we go, and we can basically next steps would be to actually display the call to action if it exists. I'd also like to actually animate these in, so if it's coming in from the bottom or the top, it actually slides in from either the bottom or the top respectively. Let's say for the modal, it'll actually like kind of fade in. And then I think it'll also be interesting to go ahead and allow users to customize, what is this? If we go, yeah, so what would this actual display component look like? So let's say we pass the title and body to it, to some user passed component or the default component. So a user can actually go ahead and define that. But anyways, I think we've got a good starting point on how, we've walked through how to use the context API and just kind of like building out a component from scratch that we could eventually publish on NPM, or I know I've got 3 projects going on right now that could all use this component. So thanks for watching, and I'll hope to see you on the next stream, whenever that is. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you next time.